Yeah.
You know, it's been too long since I've seen a cop on a horse using excessive force.
It's been a long time. I should have met you.
Oh
You
no!
got a club to beat you.
Fuck
with.
the lineup,
Beat
son.
you. Beat you. Beat you.
Run the
with.
segment,
Beat
son.
you.
Run the segment. Fuck it up.
So pretty much what's going on in France is like crazy. I mean, France, they protest. I mean, they try to raise the retirement age a few years ago and then like flip cars over and burn stuff up. So France is a little more different than like, United States when it comes to stuff. So, but also to give context, like their president is supposed to be like a liberal bastion. He's supposed to be kind of a not like a while the rest of Europe is kind of falling into this white wing kind of fall, kind of like what's happening in the United States. Like France has like Macron, which is like considered a leftist. So it was kind of, but they're still protesting and burning stuff up because he's a dick. So it's like to keep in mind when Biden becomes president, the possibilities of what can happen. Don't close your mind about what they can do when it comes to like hurting people or when it comes to not enact. Because you already said that defund the police is like a terrible term. They want to get the police more money, so that kind of activism has to keep going when Biden becomes president. It doesn't mean the cops are going to start smiling at you and having a good time when Biden becomes president. So, and France kind of shows you an example of that. French activists fear that a proposed new security law would deprive them of a potent weapon against abuse, cell phone videos of police activity, threaten an effort to document possible cases of police brutality, especially in impoverished immigrant neighborhoods. French President Emmanuel Macron's government is pushing a new security bill that makes it illegal to publish images of police officers. So I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. So that's what we're trying to do in France. The whole country is trying to like enact a law to keep people from.
Who makes up Macron's security detail? And I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going to this.
Yeah.
When the prosecutors say, well, the cop feared for his life. Well, we're not going to prosecute. I mean, who makes up your protective detail? Like there is a conflict of interest there that you cannot, you just can't ignore it. If you're looking at this from an objective standpoint, not looking out for your own best interests. If you're a person in power being trying to shield an organization that you rely on for your security from the consequences of their wrongdoing, there's no way you can make that look legitimate ever.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Also to give context, the same thing with the George Floyd stuff, like the momentum of these are protests. These are activists that have been around for a while. So also
could you imagine if it was illegal? Could you imagine if it was illegal to film George Floyd's death?
Yeah.
What the world would be like today?
It would be an even darker place than it is now. I mean, my God. And that's where in France they know that they see what happens in the United States. They see like how oppressive things are. And they're like, hell no, you're not going to take that away from us. And this is a bill that's being debated by Parliament. And it's been like, because like this black community, this like Arab community, Muslim community in France, and this is a community that's gonna be affected the most when they decide to like not be able to make it illegal to film police. We're already killing and beating and mutilating people in the communities already in the past. So this is a frightening bill. So people are just sharing their stories, and pretty much. They were faced up to a year in jail and €45, $53,000 fine for posting videos of police violence online. That's crazy to me. So,
and you know who,
and it kind of goes.
Would be most affected by a fine like that? Poor people.
Yeah, and it goes into the different stories. Like Arab man, posts a video of police brutality in his neighborhood and would be more at risk of being found guilty than the journalist who did a video during a protest. So,
yep.
So average people are putting more of the risk than the journalists in the war zone. Imagine that now that we're trying to do that, this is actual reality, So like all of a sudden you can be a police is doing something crazy to somebody and you're filming it, It doesn't mean that you want to be a superhero. It doesn't mean you want to like you just dare to like document what's happening. And if that video becomes a viral thing, that person could be punished in France, pretty much.
You know, it's really funny too. The people that love the police, and you know, they love harsh prison sentences on, you know, regular people, you know, doing, you know, stuff that doesn't really add up to the time that they end up getting in terms of sentencing. But those are the same people that say, well, what do you need privacy for if you're not doing anything wrong? These are the same people, right? So why not apply that to your local police officer? If the police officer's on the up and up and everything he's doing is justified, then wouldn't he want the world to see what kind of great job he's doing?
And but that's the thing, Dr. Virginia. This is the next thing that comes up. It's like the people who want this law, like it almost echoes kind of like the Blue Lives Matter kind of argument in the ways. Like it's like, oh, we need to protect the police, protect their identities. That's what they feel. They feel these images will be used to harm psychological. They're worried about the officer who killed somebody more than the dead body for some reason, or the mutilated, beat up person. And I guess that's the argument he has here, that he's worried about the officer's safety and like, you know, but I mean, you chose to have a gun and go out in the streets. So that's your choice, bro. So
but the thing is, like, having the gun and putting on the uniform
yeah,
is not the problem.
yeah,
It's what they did with the gun on their hip or in their hand, or what they did while inside the uniform.
yeah.
You know, there wasn't that long ago that police officers were mostly respected by people who were not criminals. That is not the case anymore.
He says a tiny fraction of the population feeds hate, rage, and hatred against the police. I think that only happens when police.
I think that tiny fraction are the police themselves harming people.
It's crazy when cops talk like that. This is so similar to how they talk here.
And thank you, kindness. Like I was about to say that shit too. You wear a motherfucking name tag and badge number.
They want to conceal their identities even more. You know,
you're like a public sector worker who is publicly identified for everybody to see.
So they think they use this argument, a fraction of the population that feeds rage and hatred. And it's always like,
do you see cops getting death threats when they're playing basketball in the street with the people in the community? Who's saying, oh yeah, let's go kill that motherfucker? Who's saying that? Nobody. Oh, that cop is over there eating a donut. Let's go get him. When have you ever heard that?
Yeah, there's
no. When they do go get him, it's get him, like roast him, right? But other than that, like only when you fuck up and you harm somebody do they dislike you.
They make it seem like we live in some bizarre, crazy Mad Max world where like people hunting police officers and like, I mean, like it's nothing like that at all. People are scared of police officers. People are scared shitless of police officers. People at least are submitting to law enforcement in a way that's bizarre in this country. You know,
and the thing is, we're supposed to feel safe when we see the cops around, and people feel unsafe when they're around.
So it's crazy that he uses the a fraction of population. You know, that's crazy.
Well, the bad cops are that fragment of that fragment of the population.
So, and then this is ongoing. Like people went out there and been protesting, and then been already people getting beat up in the protests. You know, you watch those protest videos in Paris, they get wild over there. Those cops are like beating kneecaps and like beating people up. So Phil can play this clip. This is actually an update what's going on with the law right now.
The government dropped a controversial draft law that would restrict the publishing of images of police. The bill sparked large protests on Saturday, fueled by anger over a video of police beating a black man in Paris. Critics of the law say it could prevent.
They went in his studio and they beat him up.
And a new version of the bill will now be submitted. More from Natasha Butler in Paris on the significance of this proposal.
It's clear that
the fuck
have been forced to make a concession because MPs have said that they are going to rewrite the controversial clause in their planned new security law. Now, this clause is controversial because what it does is it would crack down on people's ability to publish, share, broadcast images of police officers on duty. The government says that that would help protect the identity of police officers who often do difficult work. But opponents of this clause say that it is an erosion of press freedoms. It's an erosion of the right to inform, of people's right of expression, and that without images of police officers on duty, police will not be able to be accountable for their actions at a time where we're seeing several officers being accused of police brutality, especially over the past few days. Now, the government, of course, forced to make a concession. I can say that. But on the other hand, I think it's really important to keep it in perspective, because over the last few days, the government has indicated it might rewrite the article of this clause. But what does rewrite mean? No one has actually made that very clear.
Wow, they're dragging him on the fucking ground.
You're going to tell someone, we're going to rewrite it.
Is that the problem is that most
Are you dragging them down?
are
Okay.
against it, the many politicians on all sides of the spectrum, really, and protesters, tens of thousands of them who are in the streets on Saturday, what they want is the government to just withdraw this article altogether.
So that's what, yeah. So we're going to rewrite it.
The government's dropped.
So they're we're going to fine you $15,000 instead of $53,000. So we're going to give you 5 years in jail until 8 years in jail. Who knows what it means to rewrite it? Like, that's such a scam cop out. So see how that goes in France. They like to protest very nice in France with smiles.
I mean, it was weird that the dude had his hands on the cop's back, but when the cop turned around, he had his hands up like this, like, yeah. And then like he starts kicking him in the shin. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, who are you subduing with that?
That's hate. That's that rage and hate. Putting your arms up like that. That's so hateful and scary. That's the
no, you know,
thing
hateful and scary when you kick somebody in the shin like you're a fucking 4-year-old.
That's the rage and hate they talk about. Putting your hands up and then getting punched in the face and dragged across the sidewalk. You know, that's what cops say about rage and hate. So, so we know France gets down. Solidarity to them. It's a global movement against, police reform, police abolishment, police whatever you feel. Like, everyone wants change in the police. They want to feel safe in the communities, no matter where you go around the world.
But it's not necessarily a racial thing. I mean, the guy that they were dragging he appeared to be pretty Caucasian to me.
Yep. And
they're just dragging him in the street. So, you got what's happening with the, what do they call those people that fucking in Africa.
You're talking about NSARS?
Special. Yeah, SARS.
Yeah.
I knew it has something to do with coronavirus.
That's what makes me remember it, because of SARS, NSARS.
Yeah.
So,
it doesn't really, it's not a color thing. It's an overreach of government power and authority. That's what it's about.
Yeah. And it's people in this authority totally
and we're paying the government because, with the tax dollars, we're paying the government to assault and kill us. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
And that's what the concept of defund the police is about. We're paying these people to protect. And if they're not, we need to figure this out. So, so that's what it's about. And what people are scared thinking is some other thing, like what they think I think it's going to be, what I wanted to be, which is like, everyone gets a gun and walk blindfolded every July 4th. And whoever survives becomes the police officers. That's the kind of world that I want. Whatever crazy ideas people think, that's not going to be the case. That's not what defund the police is about. Defund the police is about
annual purge.
Annual purge. What do you think? That's what people think defund the police is. They think it's just going to be some horrible nightmare world, every man for himself, and that's not what people are. You're about feeling safe. That's like the most unsafe thing you can think about. We still want to feel safe, So
no, like that's how we should choose our police officers. Whoever survives the purge is now a police officer.
So that's Bad Cops. Thanks Twitch and Twitter for tuning in, and Facebook. Thanks for tuning in to our handles. Check
We're
out
on Twitter
clips.
right now.
Oh no, we have a Twitter handle.
There it is.
They'll post his pictures and stuff sometimes. And then catch our clips on YouTube. Act.tv has over 45,000 subscribers, and that's pretty dope. So catch us out. So that's Bad Cops. So
yeah, you got to put the words in the right order.
Yeah, I'm like